The meeting room was huge. It floated in space around a planet called Proxima Prime. 5 alien races met there every year. They had been doing this for 300 years. These aliens thought they owned the galaxy. They made all the rules. They decided who could trade and who could not. They controlled the valuable places in space. The Zoral Empire sent their best speaker. His name was Velkar. He had 4 arms and purple skin. He stood at the big speaking stand in the middle of the room. Around him sat the leaders from the other alien groups. The Keltharians looked like giant insects with hard shells. The Aviks were made of living crystal that glowed different colors. The Drayan looked like huge lizards with sharp teeth. The Silex were small but very smart. Velkar talked about trade routes. He talked about mining rights. He talked about planets that had valuable metals. All the aliens listened and nodded. They had done this same meeting hundreds of times before. Everything was normal. Everything was boring. Everything was the way it had always been. None of them talked about humans. Humans were not important to them. Humans had only learned to travel faster than light 40 years ago. That was nothing in galactic time. These aliens had been traveling through space for thousands of years. They thought humans were stupid and weak. They thought humans would destroy themselves in a war or just give up and go away. The aliens were wrong about humans. They were very wrong. The first sign of trouble came from the control room. A Keltharian named Crixton worked there. He had been running the space station for 20 years. He knew every sound, every light, every signal. Today something was different. His computer screens showed 7 ships coming out of hyperspace. These ships were not supposed to be there. Nobody had invited them. Nobody had told the station they were coming. Crixton looked closer at the screens. The ships were small and fast. They moved in perfect formation. They did not match any ship design he knew. He tried to identify them, but his computer could not tell him what they were. This made him nervous. He sent a message to the security chief. The security chief was a Drayan warrior called Kortax. He was huge and covered in thick scales. He had fought in many wars. Nothing scared him. But when he got to the control room and saw the screens, even he looked worried. The strange ships were already inside the station's protective zone. They had passed all the defenses without setting off a single alarm. Kortax tried to activate the station's weapons. Nothing happened. He tried again. Still nothing. The weapons were turned off. He tried to turn them back on, but he could not. Someone had taken control of the weapons system. Someone had locked him out of his own security controls. In the meeting room, Velkar was still talking. He did not know anything was wrong. The other alien leaders sat in their seats half asleep from boredom. Some of them were thinking about lunch. Some of them were reading messages on their personal devices. None of them were paying much attention. Then the main door opened. It made a loud hissing sound. Every head turned to look. The door was not supposed to open during a meeting. It was locked from the inside for security. 3 humans walked through the door. Behind them came 24 more humans wearing black combat armor. They all carried weapons. The weapons were not pointed at anyone, but everyone could see them. The humans walked in perfect step. They looked professional. They looked dangerous. The human in front took off her helmet. She had red hair and gray eyes. She looked at all the aliens with a small smile. She did not look scared at all. She looked like she belonged there. On her shoulder was a patch that said Terran Federation. That meant she worked for the human government. Her name was Claire Morgan. She was a captain in the human Space Force. She had been planning this moment for 3 years. She had trained her team for months. Everything had to be perfect. One mistake and humans would lose their only chance to join the galactic community. Claire looked around the room slowly. She made eye contact with each alien leader. She wanted them to see that she was not afraid. She wanted them to understand that humans were serious. Then she spoke. Her voice was clear and strong. She used the galactic language perfectly. Every word was pronounced correctly. The aliens had not expected that. They thought humans were too primitive to learn their language properly. "Good afternoon," she said. "I apologize for interrupting your meeting, but humanity has some things we need to discuss with you. Important things that you have been ignoring for too long." For a moment, nobody moved. The aliens just stared at the humans. They could not believe what they were seeing. Humans were not supposed to be here. This meeting was secret. The location was classified. Only the 5 major powers knew where it was. How had humans found it? How had they gotten past all the security? Velkar was the first to react. His purple skin turned darker, almost black. This meant he was very angry. His forearms started waving in the air. He made loud clicking sounds that his translator turned into words. "This is an outrage," he shouted. "You primitive creatures dare to come here? This is sacred ground. This meeting has been protected for 300 years. Guards, remove these insects from our presence immediately." Nothing happened. No guards came. The room stayed quiet except for Velkar's angry breathing. Claire waited a few seconds. She wanted the silence to make the aliens uncomfortable. She wanted them to realize that something had changed. The old rules did not work anymore. "Your guards are in their barracks," Claire said calmly. "The doors are locked. They cannot get out. Do not worry, we have not hurt them. They are perfectly safe. They will stay there until we finish our conversation. Then we will let them go." The Keltharian leader stood up quickly. Her name was Daxlar. She was a merchant who controlled most of the trade in her sector. She activated a personal shield that glowed blue around her body. She started shouting for help on her communication device. But the device did not work. It made a small buzzing sound and then went dead. Claire gestured to one of her team members. A woman with short black hair stepped forward. Her name was Helen Cruz. She was a computer expert, the best in the human fleet. She held up her arm and a hologram appeared in the air above her wrist device. The hologram showed a map of the space station. Every system was highlighted in red. Life support, weapons, shields, communications, door locks, everything. The aliens stared at it. They understood what it meant. The humans had taken control of their station. "Complete control," Helen spoke in a matter-of-fact voice. 47 minutes ago, we entered your computer systems. We now control everything on this station. We can turn off the air. We can open all the doors to space. We can crash this station into the planet below. But we will not do any of those things. We are not here to kill you. We are here to talk." The Drayan Queen stood up slowly. Her name was Selith. She was tall, much taller than any human. Her scales were dark red and her eyes were yellow. She had ruled her people for 60 years. She had seen many battles. She did not scare easily. But now, looking at these small humans who had somehow taken over the most secure facility in the galaxy, she felt something she had not felt in a long time. She felt uncertain. "How is this possible?" Silith asked. "Our security is the best in the galaxy. 5 different species designed it. There are no weaknesses. No one can break into our systems." Claire smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had won a game that the other players did not even know they were playing. "You are right," Claire said. "Your security was very good, but it was designed to stop aliens who think like you. Humans think differently. We see problems in ways you do not expect. We find solutions that you would never consider. That is why we are here. That is why we got past all your defenses without you noticing." She walked slowly toward the center of the room. Her boots made soft sounds on the floor. Behind her, the human soldiers stayed perfectly still. They did not need to point their weapons. Their presence was enough. "For 40 years, Claire continued, humanity has been asking to join your council. We have sent diplomats. We have offered trade deals. We have shown you our technology. And what have you done? You have ignored us. You have dismissed us. You have treated us like children who should be quiet and stay out of the way. Today that changes. Today we show you what humans can really do." The meeting room exploded with noise. All the alien leaders started shouting at once. Velkar's skin turned so dark it was almost black. His forearms waved wildly in the air. The Keltharian merchant Daxlar tried her communication device again and again, but it would not work. The Avix representative, a crystal being called Resonance 7, flashed angry red lights. Even the small Silex delegate, who usually stayed quiet, was making high-pitched whistling sounds of alarm. Claire Morgan stood still and calm in the middle of all this chaos. She did not look worried. She did not look scared. She just waited. Behind her, the human soldiers remained in perfect formation. One of them, a young man named Jake Collins, had a small smile on his face. He was enjoying watching the aliens panic. Queen Silith of the Drayan was the loudest. Her deep voice cut through all the other noise. "You will pay for this insult with your lives," she roared. "The Drayan Empire has crushed bigger threats than you. We have weapons that can destroy entire planets. You think your little trick with our computers makes you powerful? You are wrong. You are dead. Claire let her finish. Then she spoke in a voice that somehow carried over all the shouting. Please, everyone, sit down. We have much to discuss and very little time. I promise you will want to hear what we have to say. Nobody sat down. Velkar pointed one of his forearms at Claire. This is an act of war, he declared. You have violated every law of civilized space. You have invaded a neutral station. You have threatened the representatives of 5 major powers. When we leave here, our combined fleets will reduce your primitive planet to dust. Claire nodded slowly. Yes, you could do that. Your fleets are much bigger than ours. You have thousands of ships. We have hundreds. In a straight fight, you would win. But this is not going to be a straight fight. She gestured to another member of her team. A tall man with gray hair stepped forward. His name was Ben Wright. He was a military commander with 30 years of experience. He had fought in every major conflict in human space. He held up a small device and another hologram appeared. This hologram was different. It showed a map of the entire galaxy. There were colored zones showing the territory of each alien power. But there were also dozens of small blue dots scattered throughout the map. Many of these blue dots were in places the aliens thought were empty or impossible to colonize. Ben Wright spoke in a clear, professional voice. Each blue dot is a human colony or military base. We have 47 permanent settlements in systems you believe are uninhabitable. We have mining operations in asteroid fields you think are too dangerous to approach. We have listening posts monitoring your communications from places you have never even surveyed. The aliens stared at the map. Some of the blue dots were deep inside their own territory. How long? Daxler asked quietly. Have these bases been there? The oldest one has been operating for 18 years, Ben replied. The newest was established 3 months ago. You never noticed any of them. Resonance. 7 pulsed with a confused yellow color. How is this possible? Our sensors sweep these regions constantly. We would detect any settlements. Helen Cruz spoke up. Your sensors are very good, but they are designed to detect alien technology. Human technology is different. We learned how to hide from your sensors by studying the sensor data you freely shared with us during our early trade negotiations. You told us exactly what to avoid. Claire walked around the podium where Velkar had been standing. She looked at each alien leader in turn. Let me tell you about humans, she said. Let me tell you why you should have paid attention to us, instead of dismissing us as primitive. She began to pace slowly as she talked. Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We have had countless wars on our home planet. We have developed hundreds of different ways to kill each other. We have built weapons that could destroy all life on Earth multiple times over, and several times in our history we came very close to using those weapons. The aliens listened now. The shouting had stopped. They were starting to understand that something serious was happening here. But we did not destroy ourselves, Claire continued. We survived. We learned. We adapted. And most importantly, we learned that rules are just suggestions when survival is at stake. You aliens have rules for war. You have treaties and protocols. You fight with honor. Humans do not care about honor when we are losing. We care about winning. Queen Silith made a deep rumbling sound in her throat. So you admit you are barbaric? No, Claire said. We are practical. There is a difference. When you face an enemy who is stronger than you, you do not fight fair. You fight smart. You find their weaknesses and you exploit them without mercy. She stopped pacing and looked directly at the Queen. Your Drayan warships are very impressive. They are huge. They have thick armor. They have powerful weapons. But they also have a critical flaw in their reactor shielding that a single missile in the right place could exploit. Would you like me to tell you the exact coordinates? Silith's yellow eyes went wide. That information is classified at the highest level. Only 3 people in my entire empire know about that weakness. We discovered it ourselves only last year. 4 people knew, Claire corrected. One of your engineers mentioned it in an encrypted message to his supervisor. We intercepted that message. We have been reading your supposedly secure communications for 2 years. Helen Cruz brought up another hologram. This one showed lines of text in the Drayan language. It was clearly a military communication. The date on it was from 8 months ago. It discussed deployment of new ships and their secret vulnerabilities. The Queen sat down heavily in her chair. She looked like she had been punched in the stomach. "If you can read our military communications," she said slowly, "then you can read everything." "Yes," Claire confirmed. "We can read everything. Your personal messages, your government documents, your banking transactions, your scientific research. Everything." She turned to face Velkar. "And before you ask, Ambassador, yes, we can do the same to the Jorul Empire. We know about the food shortage in your eastern provinces. We know about the protest movements you are trying to hide. We know about the secret weapons research on your moon base." Velkar's purple skin turned pale. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Claire looked at Daxlar. "We know about the corruption in the Keltharian banking system. We know which merchants are cheating on their taxes. We know about the illegal mining operations that your government pretends do not exist." Then she turned to Resonance 7. "We know that the Avics are not one unified species but 3 different groups pretending to work together. We know about the civil war you are trying to prevent. We know about the colony ships you are building in secret." Finally, she addressed the small Silex delegate, who had been trying to stay invisible in his chair. "And we know about your plans to betray the other council members and seize control of the Andros belt for yourself." The Silex made a squeaking sound and tried to shrink even smaller. The room was completely silent now. All the alien leaders looked shocked. Some looked scared. They were beginning to understand the situation. The humans had not just taken control of the station. They had taken control of information, and in the modern galaxy, information was more powerful than any weapon. "How long?" Daxlar asked in a small voice. "Have you been spying on us?" "Since the beginning," Ben Wright answered. "Since our very first contact with your civilizations. Every diplomat you dismissed was gathering intelligence. Every trade negotiation was a chance to access your computer systems. Every cultural exchange let us study your technology. You gave us everything we needed because you thought we were too primitive to be a threat." Jake Collins, the young soldier, could not help himself. He spoke up from his position behind Claire. "You thought humans were stupid. That was your biggest mistake." Claire did not scold him for speaking out of turn. She nodded in agreement. "Humans are not stupid. We are patient, we are clever, and we are very, very good at learning from our enemies." She returned to the center of the room. "Now," she said, "we come to why we are here. We are not here to conquer you. We are not here to destroy your empires. We are here to make you an offer." "What kind of offer?" Velkar asked suspiciously. "A simple one," Claire replied. "Give humanity a seat on the Galactic Council. Recognize us as equals. Respect our territory and our rights. Do this peacefully, and we will share our technology with you. We will close down our spy networks. We will become your partners instead of your hidden enemies." "And if we refuse," Queen Silith said, "you will use all this information against us." "Yes," Claire said simply. "If you refuse, we will start releasing your secrets to your enemies. We will crash your computer systems. We will sabotage your infrastructure. We will make your lives very difficult. Not because we want to, but because you leave us no choice." She looked around at all of them. "We do not want war. War is expensive and wasteful, but we will fight if we must. And unlike you, we will fight without rules or honor or mercy. We will fight to win." The alien leaders looked at each other. They were trapped and they knew it. The humans had planned this perfectly. There was no good way out. They could refuse and face chaos, or they could agree and lose face. Either way, the galaxy had changed today. The old order was over. Velkar stood up slowly. His forearms hung at his sides. His purple skin had returned to a normal color, but his eyes looked tired. He was thousands of years old. He had been a diplomat for most of those years. He had negotiated with every major power in the galaxy. He thought he had seen everything. Today he learned he was wrong. "Captain Morgan," he said quietly, "you have made your point very clearly. You have shown us that humans are more capable than we believed. But you must understand something. The Galactic Council has existed for 300 cycles. We have maintained peace and order. If we simply give in to your demands because you threaten us, what message does that send? Every minor species will think they can do the same thing. Claire nodded. That is a fair concern, Ambassador. But I would argue that any species capable of doing what we just did deserves a seat at the table. If another race can infiltrate your systems, establish secret colonies, and gather intelligence on all of you for decades without being detected, then they have earned the right to be taken seriously. Daxlar clicked her mandibles nervously. But this sets a terrible precedent. You are rewarding aggression and deception. No, Claire replied. We are recognizing reality. The truth is that humanity has been a major power for years. You just refuse to see it. We have the population. We have the technology. We have the resources. The only thing we lacked was your recognition. Today we are taking that recognition because you would never give it freely. She walked over to one of the large windows. Outside, the stars glittered against the blackness of space. The planet Proxima Prime hung below them, a beautiful blue and green sphere. Claire looked at it for a moment before turning back to face the aliens. Let me tell you a story about human history, she said. About 200 years ago, humans had a global war on Earth. Millions of people died, cities were destroyed, entire nations disappeared. When the war ended, the surviving countries created a world council to prevent future wars. But there was a problem. Some nations were not invited to join this council. They were considered too small, too weak. Too dangerous. What happened? Asked Resonance 7, its crystal body pulsing with curious yellow light. Those excluded nations built up their militaries in secret, Claire continued. They formed their own alliances. They prepared for the day when they would be strong enough to demand respect. And when that day came, they did not ask nicely. They took their seats by force. The World Council had to choose between war and acceptance. They chose acceptance. And it worked. The world became more stable because more voices were heard. Queen Silith's tail swished back and forth. So you are saying that giving in to threats creates stability? That is backward logic. I am saying that excluding legitimate powers creates instability, Claire replied. You could continue to pretend that humans do not matter. You could continue to ignore us. But we are here. We are strong. We are not going away. You can make us your enemies or you can make us your partners. But you cannot make us disappear. Ben Wright stepped forward with another hologram. This one showed graphs and charts, economic data, military strength comparisons, population statistics. All the numbers showed the same thing. Humanity was growing fast, very fast. In another 50 years, humans would be one of the largest civilizations in the galaxy, whether the Council liked it or not. Look at these projections, Ben said. In 10 years, human colonies will outnumber Keltharian settlements. In 20 years, our economy will match the Silex Federation. In 30 years, we will have a larger military than the Drayan monarchy. You can accept us now as equals, or you can fight us later when we are even stronger. The choice is yours, but the outcome is inevitable. The Silex delegate spoke for the first time. His voice was high and thin. You speak as if we have no choice at all. You speak as if you have already won, Claire smiled. That is because we have. You just have not fully accepted it yet. Think about your situation. Right now, at this moment, we control this station. We control your communications. We know all your secrets. You cannot call for help. You cannot activate your defenses. You cannot even leave this room unless we let you. But more than that, she continued, we have demonstrated something much more important. We have shown that your security is an illusion. If we could do this, who else could? How many other species might be spying on you right now? How many of your secrets have already been stolen by civilizations you dismiss as unimportant? That thought made all the aliens look uncomfortable. They had been so confident in their superiority. Now they were questioning everything. Helen Cruz spoke up. We can help you fix your security problems. Human cyber experts are the best in the galaxy. We can show you where your systems are vulnerable. We can teach you how to protect yourselves better. But only if you work with us instead of against us. Velkar made a gesture with two of his arms. It was a sign of respect in Zoral culture. You have given us much to think about, Captain Morgan, but you must understand that we cannot simply agree to your demands immediately. We need time to consult with our governments. We need to discuss the implications. This is a decision that will affect the entire galaxy for generations. I understand, Claire said. That is why we are giving you 24 hours to decide. That should be enough time to contact your homeworlds and get instructions. After 24 hours, we will need an answer. And if we need more time, Daxlar asked, then we will assume you are stalling, and we will begin phase 2 of our operation. That involves releasing some of your secrets to your enemies. Nothing too damaging at first, just enough to show we are serious. Queen Silith stood up again. This is blackmail, yes, Claire agreed. But it is blackmail with a purpose. We are not trying to destroy you. We are not trying to steal your territory or your resources. We just want to be treated as equals. Is that really so unreasonable? The Queen's scales rattled. She was very angry, but she was also intelligent enough to see the logic. Everything Captain Morgan said was true. Humanity had proven itself capable. They had earned their place through cunning and determination. The old ways of the galaxy were changing. Resonance 7 pulsed with a deep blue light. This indicated it was thinking seriously. Captain Morgan, it said in its musical voice, suppose we agree to your demands. What guarantees can you give us that humanity will not abuse its position on the Council? What prevents you from using your intelligence gathering to continue threatening us? Claire had been expecting this question. She nodded to Jake Collins, who brought forward a thick document. It appeared as a hologram in the center of the room. The document was hundreds of pages long. This is a proposed treaty, Claire explained. It includes provisions for mutual defense, trade agreements, technology sharing, and most importantly, limits on intelligence operations. Once we are members of the Council, we will shut down our spy networks in your territories. We will stop intercepting your communications. We will destroy the sensitive information we have gathered. Why should we believe you, the Silex delegate squeaked. Because it will be verified, Ben Wright said. The treaty includes inspection protocols. You will be allowed to send teams to check our facilities. We will provide proof that we have destroyed the data, and there will be severe penalties if we are caught violating the agreement. Belkar examined the treaty hologram carefully. His eyes moved quickly over the text. After several minutes, he looked up. This treaty is very detailed. You have thought of everything. How long have you been planning this? 3 years, Claire admitted. We knew we would only get one chance. We had to make sure we did it right. Every word in that treaty has been reviewed by our best legal experts. Every provision has been carefully considered. We are serious about wanting to be good partners. Daxlar clicked her mandibles thoughtfully. This treaty gives humans access to many restricted trade routes. It grants you mining rights in valuable sectors. These are significant concessions, yes, Claire said. But you should know that we already have access to most of those trade routes. We have been using them for years. In those mining operations, we have had secret bases there for over a year. The treaty just makes it official. We are not asking for anything we do not already have. We are simply asking for recognition. The room fell silent again. The aliens were beginning to understand the full scope of what humans had accomplished. They had not just prepared for this meeting. They had prepared for their entire future in galactic society. Every detail had been planned. Every possibility had been considered. Queen Silith spoke quietly. You said we have 24 hours. What happens during that time? Do you release us or do we remain prisoners? You are not prisoners, Claire said firmly. You are free to return to your quarters. You can use your personal communication devices. We will restore limited computer access so you can contact your governments. But we will maintain control of the station's critical systems until we have your answer. This is for everyone's safety. She looked around at all of them one more time. 24 hours, she repeated. Think carefully about your decision. The galaxy is changing. You can change with it or you can be left behind. The choice is yours. The 24 hours passed slowly. The alien leaders returned to their private quarters on the station. Claire had kept her promise. She restored their ability to communicate with their homeworlds, but she made sure that her team could still monitor those communications. The humans needed to know what the aliens were planning. Queen Silith sat in her room staring at a screen. She was reviewing old intelligence reports about humans, reports that went back 40 years to when humanity first achieved faster-than-light travel. Now reading them with new understanding, she could see the pattern. Every diplomatic mission had been an intelligence operation. Every trade deal had been a cover for gathering information. Every friendly gesture had been calculated. One report in particular caught her attention. It was from 15 years ago. A human scientist had visited a Drayan research facility. He had seemed friendly and a bit clumsy. He had asked basic questions about their technology. The Drayan scientists had laughed at him and treated him like a child. They had shown him their equipment and explained how it worked, thinking he would never understand it. Now Scythe realized that the scientist had been recording everything. He had been mapping their systems. He had been looking for weaknesses. And the Drayan scientist had helped him because they thought he was too stupid to be a threat. The Queen felt anger and shame in equal measure. She contacted her military advisors on the Drayan homeworld. The meeting was tense. Her generals wanted to attack immediately. They wanted to crush these upstart humans before they became an even bigger threat. But Scythe was not so sure. Captain Morgan had been right about one thing. War would be very costly. The Queen's chief military advisor was a scarred old warrior named Krell. He had fought in 30 campaigns. He knew war better than anyone. "Your Majesty," he said through the communication link, "we have analyzed the human capabilities based on what they revealed today. Our assessment is that we could defeat them in a direct military engagement. But the cost would be enormous." "Explain," Scythe commanded. "They have infiltrated our systems deeply," Krell said. "If we attack them, they will strike at our infrastructure first. They could disable our planetary defenses. They could crash our economy by manipulating our banking system. They could even contaminate our food supply networks. By the time our military reached their territory, our homeworld could be in chaos." The Queen closed her eyes. She had ruled her people for 60 years. She had kept them safe and prosperous. Now she faced a choice that could end that prosperity. If she refused the humans, there would be war. If she accepted them, she would look weak. But looking weak was better than being dead. Meanwhile, Ambassador Velkar was having similar conversations with the Joral High Command. The military leaders were divided. Some wanted to fight. Others counseled caution. The debate went on for hours. Finally, the Supreme Commander made a decision. They would accept the humans onto the Council, but only because the alternative was worse. The Keltharian merchant Daxlar took a different approach. She was a businesswoman first and a politician second. She looked at the situation from an economic perspective. If humans joined the Council, there would be opportunities for trade. Humans had proven they were innovative. They had technologies that could be valuable, and if they were inside the Council structure, they could be controlled better than if they remained outside as enemies. She contacted the other members of the Keltharian Confederation. Most of them agreed with her analysis. Better to profit from the humans than to fight them. Business was business. Resonance 7, the Avix representative, spent the time in meditation. The Avix were not like other species. They did not have emotions in the same way. They thought in terms of patterns and harmonies. Resonance 7 analyzed the situation from every angle. It considered thousands of possible futures. In most of them, refusing the humans led to chaos. Accepting them led to stability. The choice was logical. Except the humans, only the Silex delegate remained uncertain. His government was the smallest of the 5 major powers. They had always been the weakest voice on the Council. Now they worried that adding a 6th member would make them even less important. But the Silex were also realists. They knew they had no choice. If the other 4 powers accepted the humans, the Silex would have to go along. While the aliens deliberated, the human team remained alert. Claire Morgan barely slept during those 24 hours. She knew this was the critical moment. Everything humanity had worked for over the past 40 years came down to this decision. If the aliens refused, there would be war. And despite her confident words, Claire knew that war would be terrible for both sides. Helen Cruz monitored all the alien communications. She prepared summaries for Claire every 2 hours. The news was mostly good. Most of the aliens seemed to be leaning toward acceptance, but there were still hardliners who wanted to fight. The situation remained uncertain. Ben Wright prepared contingency plans. If the aliens said no, the humans would have to act quickly. They would need to disable key systems across multiple alien civilizations simultaneously. It would be the largest cyber attack in galactic history. Ben hoped they would not have to use these plans, but he made sure everything was ready just in case. Jake Collins and the other soldiers maintained security. They kept watch over the alien leaders. They made sure no one tried to escape or sabotage the station. It was boring work, but necessary. One wrong move and the whole plan could fall apart. Finally, the 24 hours ended. The alien leaders assembled once again in the amphitheater. They looked tired. Some of them looked defeated, but they all came. Claire and her team were already waiting. The atmosphere in the room was different from yesterday. The anger was gone. The shouting was gone. Instead, there was a heavy silence. Everyone knew that history was being made today. The galaxy would never be the same after this meeting. Ambassador Velkar stood up first. His purple skin was a neutral gray color. His forearms hung loosely at his sides. He looked like he had aged 10 years overnight. "Captain Morgan," he said in a tired voice, "the Galactic Council has consulted with our respective governments. We have discussed your demands at length. We have considered all the implications. And we have reached a decision." Claire stood perfectly still. She showed no emotion on her face, but inside her heart was racing. This was the moment. Everything depended on the next words out of Velkar's mouth. "Before I announce our decision," Velkar continued, "I must ask you some questions. If we grant humanity membership on the Council, what guarantees can you provide that you will honor the treaties and agreements that govern galactic civilization?" Claire had prepared for this. "We will sign all existing treaties," she said clearly. "We will abide by all Council regulations. We will participate in the mutual defense pacts. We will be full members with all the rights and all the responsibilities that come with membership." "And your intelligence operations?" Daxler asked. "What happens to them?" "They will be shut down according to the timeline in the treaty," Claire replied. "We will close our secret bases in your territories. We will stop intercepting your communications. We will destroy the sensitive data we have collected. All of this will be verified by independent inspectors." Queen Silith stood up. Her yellow eyes were hard. "And if you violate these agreements, what penalties will you accept?" "The same penalties that apply to all Council members," Claire said. "Sanctions, expulsion, even military action if necessary. We are not asking for special treatment. We just want to be equals." Resonance 7 pulsed with a calm blue light. "Captain Morgan," it said, "you have demonstrated that humanity is capable of great deception and great violence. How can we trust that you will be a force for stability rather than chaos?" Claire took a deep breath. "You cannot trust us completely." "Not yet. Trust must be earned over time. But I can tell you this. Everything we have done, all the spying and all the preparation, was done with one goal. We wanted a seat at the table. Now we are about to get it. Why would we throw that away by causing chaos? We want to build, not destroy. We want to contribute, not take. Give us a chance to prove ourselves." The aliens looked at each other. Some kind of silent communication passed between them. Then Velkar raised one of his arms. The gesture called for silence and attention. "Very well," he said. "The Galactic Council has made its decision. We acknowledge that humanity has proven itself to be a significant power. You have demonstrated capabilities that we did not think possible. You have shown determination and intelligence. You have earned, through methods we do not approve of but cannot deny, the right to be heard." He paused. The moment stretched out. Claire felt like she could not breathe. Therefore, Velkar continued, "The Galactic Council grants the Terran Federation full membership status. Welcome to the Council, Captain Morgan. Welcome to the community of galactic civilizations." For a moment, nobody moved. Then Jake Collins let out a whoop of joy that he quickly tried to suppress. Ben Wright allowed himself a small smile. Helen Cruz nodded in satisfaction. And Claire Morgan, who had carried the weight of humanity's future on her shoulders for 3 years, finally relaxed. They had done it. Against all odds, against the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy, humans had won their place among the stars. 3 months passed. The galaxy adjusted to its new reality. Humanity was now an official member of the Galactic Council. The transition had not been easy. There were protests on some alien worlds. There were politicians who called it a surrender to terrorism. There were military leaders who wanted to find a way to reverse the decision. But slowly, grudgingly, the major powers accepted the change. The human government appointed a new ambassador to the Council. Her name was Lisa Foster. She was a diplomat with 20 years of experience. She had negotiated trade deals, resolved conflicts, and represented humanity in dozens of difficult situations. But nothing had prepared her for this. She would be the first human to sit in the Council chambers as an equal to the ancient alien civilizations. Lisa stood in front of a mirror in her quarters on Proxima Station. She adjusted her formal uniform. It was dark blue with gold trim. On her shoulder was the emblem of the Terran Federation. She looked at herself and took a deep breath. Today was her first official council meeting. Today she would represent all of humanity. The amphitheater looked different to her than it had looked to Captain Morgan 3 months ago. The same seats were arranged in the same circle. The same aliens sat in their traditional places. But now there was a 6th seat, a seat for humanity. Lisa walked to that seat and sat down. It felt surreal. Ambassador Velkar called the meeting to order. His purple skin was its normal color now. He had recovered from the shock of humanity's arrival. He had even begun to see some advantages to having humans on the council. They brought new ideas. They saw problems from different angles. They were useful even if they were annoying. "Welcome, Ambassador Foster," Velkar said formally. "This is your first session as a full member of the council. We hope your tenure will be productive for all of us. Today's agenda includes trade route negotiations, resource allocation in the Andros Belt, and several proposals for scientific cooperation." The meeting proceeded. At first, Lisa mostly listened. She was learning how the council worked. She was understanding the relationships between the different powers. She was figuring out who was allied with whom and who had old grudges. It was complicated. 300 years of history could not be learned in a day. But when the discussion turned to scientific cooperation, Lisa spoke up. She had a proposal. Humanity wanted to organize a joint research expedition to explore an uncharted region of space called the Dark Sector. It was a dangerous area with strange energy readings. No one had ever mapped it properly. But the potential discoveries could benefit all the civilizations. The other council members listened politely. Some seemed interested. Others seemed skeptical. Queen Silith asked several pointed questions about safety and costs. Daxler wanted to know what the economic benefits would be. Resonant 7 asked about the scientific methodology. Lisa answered every question calmly and professionally. She had prepared well. She had data to support every claim. She had thought through every concern. By the end of her presentation, even the skeptical members were nodding. Velkar called for a vote. It was unanimous. Humanity's first proposal as a council member was approved. Lisa felt a surge of pride. This was what they had fought for. Not just a seat at the table, but a voice in shaping the future. After the meeting, several of the alien ambassadors approached Lisa. They made polite conversation. They asked about her background. They talked about potential areas of cooperation. It was all very diplomatic and formal. But Lisa could sense that they were testing her. They wanted to see what kind of person she was. They wanted to know if humans would be reasonable partners or difficult troublemakers. Velkar was the last to approach. He gestured for her to walk with him. They strolled along the observation deck, looking out at the stars. For a while, neither of them spoke. Then the ambassador broke the silence. "Your Captain Morgan was quite effective," he said. "She showed us that humans can be very determined when they want something." "Tell me, Ambassador, are all humans like her? So intense?" Lisa smiled. "We have many different types of people. Captain Morgan is a soldier. She approaches problems with military precision. I am a diplomat. I prefer to build bridges rather than burn them. But we all share one thing. When humanity sets a goal, we work hard to achieve it." Velkar made a sound that might have been a chuckle. "That much is clear. You have certainly changed the galaxy in a short time. I am not sure yet if that change is good or bad. But I suppose time will tell." Lisa looked at him directly. "Ambassador, humanity does not want to be your enemy. We want to be your partner. We know we came into the council in an aggressive way, but that was necessary. You would never have accepted us otherwise. Now that we are here, we want to prove that we deserve to be here. Give us a chance." Velkar was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. "Very well, Ambassador Foster. You will have your chance. But understand this. Trust is earned slowly. You have shown us what humans can do when they are determined. Now show us what you can do when you are cooperative." Meanwhile, Captain Claire Morgan was back on Earth. She had retired from active military service. Her job was done. She had secured humanity's place in the galaxy. Now it was time for others to build on what she had started. She lived in a small house by the ocean. She spent her days reading, walking on the beach, and watching the sunset. It was peaceful. It was quiet. It was very different from the 3 years of intense planning and stress that had led to the summit. One day, a news reporter came to interview her. The reporter wanted to know about the takeover of the summit. It had become famous throughout human space. Some people called Claire a hero. Others called her reckless. She had become a legend. The reporter set up cameras and sat down across from Claire. "Tell me, Captain Morgan," the reporter began. "What do you think is humanity's greatest strength? What allowed you to succeed against civilizations that are thousands of years older than us?" Claire thought about the question. She looked out at the ocean for a moment before answering. "Our greatest strength is that we never stop trying. Other civilizations reach a certain level and then they maintain it for centuries. They become comfortable. They stop innovating, but humans are always pushing forward, always looking for the next challenge, always trying to improve. That restlessness can be annoying, but it also means we will never stagnate." The reporter nodded and wrote notes. Then she asked another question. "Do you regret how you forced humanity into the council? Some people say you could have been more diplomatic, that you did not need to threaten and intimidate the aliens." Claire shook her head firmly. "No, I do not regret it. We tried diplomacy for 40 years. It did not work. The aliens dismissed us as primitive. They would never have accepted us through normal channels. Sometimes you have to break down the door because nobody is going to open it for you. Yes, we made them uncomfortable. Yes, we scared them. But now we have a voice in galactic affairs. Now humanity has a future among the stars. That is worth more than being polite." The reporter asked several more questions. Then she packed up her equipment and left. Claire went back to watching the ocean. She thought about everything that had happened. She thought about her team. Jake Collins was now training the next generation of special forces. Helen Cruz was working on new cybersecurity systems. Ben Wright had taken a position at military headquarters. They had all moved on to new challenges. And in the amphitheater on Proxima Station, Ambassador Lisa Foster was building the relationships that would shape humanity's future. She met regularly with the other ambassadors. She negotiated trade deals. She proposed joint projects. She worked to prove that humans could be trusted. It was not always easy. There were still aliens who resented humanity's presence. There were still politicians who wanted to remove humans from the council. But slowly, over months and years, opinions began to change. Humans proved to be innovative partners. Their technology was valuable. Their ideas were fresh. Their energy was infectious. The joint research expedition to the dark sector was a huge success. The mixed team of humans and aliens discovered 3 new habitable planets and a new form of energy that could revolutionize space travel. The discovery made headlines across the galaxy. It showed what could be accomplished when species worked together instead of against each other. 5 years after the takeover of the summit, historians began calling it the beginning of the Second Galactic Age. The Old Age had been about maintaining order and preserving the power of the ancient civilizations. The New Age was about cooperation, innovation, and growth. Humanity had been the catalyst for that change. The Galactic Council installed a new plaque at the entrance to the amphitheater. It read simply, "Here humanity claimed its place among the stars. May all species find the courage to demand their rightful voice." Queen Silith, who had been one of the most opposed to humanity's membership, eventually became one of their strongest supporters. She admitted publicly that humans had taught the old civilizations an important lesson. Comfort breeds weakness, challenge breeds strength. The galaxy needed new voices to keep it vital. Ambassador Velkar served on the council for another 20 years. He worked closely with 3 different human ambassadors during that time. At his retirement ceremony, he gave a speech. He talked about how the council had changed since humanity joined. He talked